Hey, good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. We got day 2 of our catch-up streams. We're shooting for 5 days. Hopefully, we might be good. Get done in 4. We had a good stream last night. We got like 11 of you guys down there. We typically try to get 5 or 6. So let's see how many we can bang out today. Who's in the house here? Dustin. Thank you, Justin, for joining once again. And we have Bailey, Best Golf Channel on YouTube. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. There's quite a lot of YouTube channels out there. I think the last count there was like 1,000 YouTube channels just on golf. 1,000. So imagine all the methods out there. Okay. If you're new to this channel, new to this live stream, we do this once a week, but this is catch-up week, so there's going to be no regular videos. It's just catch-up streams. So send your links in. The link will be in the description below after this live stream, but if you want to go on our regular uploads, you'll see the job form link. Just send me a face on down the line like this gentleman did. Let me know what you're working on, and I'll do my best to help you at least understand cause and effect. So on the screen now is Cameron. Several months ago, I sent it a video, and you thought I would be better served to shorten my backswing. Yes, I do remember you, Cameron. I remember how long your backswing was. It looks really good, by the way. Much better. Working on that a lot. Recently, I left a comment on one of your videos asking if you had advice for people like me who are relatively new to golf, but also pretty strong with a lot of speed. Yes, we can go over that after we look at your swing. I want to reduce my huge miss, how huge my miss can get. So this is a mini driver off the deck, which is probably the hardest shot I will ever hit. I prefer to hit a fade. Okay, well, you definitely have the plane work for fade shots, so there's nothing wrong with that. Just remember, if it's a constant fade, a constant draw, constant pull, who cares? Just play it. That's basically what it comes down to. You don't have to cure everything all the time. That's a vicious trap I see many people fall into, where they just constantly working on their swing all the time. It's like at some point, just play, man. So let's take a look at the swing. I don't know if we have people on the stream right now that remember this gentleman, but his backswing, I kid you not, that club was probably back over here. So he's done a really good job of reducing the arm motion, and we do still see a really, really big shoulder turn, which is great. So if you take a look at there's a transition, you can see that club gets just past his parallel of his shoulder turn, which is awesome. So we see a nice wide extension. We see the chest, the hands out in front of the chest. We do have a pretty good turn with the lower body. So look at that X factor. So here we have somebody that can produce a lot of torque and rotation. So you can see why this gentleman's pretty strong. As we come on through, the sequencing is decent. So you can see there probably needs to be a little bit more drive going up here. But again, this is a mini driver, so it's really hard to hit this off the deck. And there's a slight little breakdown here as we come on through. So the arms are kind of involved. We have to stand up to get out the way. So we'll take a look at some things I see. But look at the amount of rotation through. I mean, there's a lot of rotation. Just be careful. It looks like this left knee here, it might prone to do this. So you might want to watch that left knee. If that left knee starts to give you some issues, just tone it down a little bit. You don't need to create that much torque specifically for the average Joes. I just see that, yeah, especially there. Look at that left foot's coming up and put a lot of pressure back over here. So just be wary of that. But from down the line, let's take a look at the setup here. Setup looks pretty good. We have the lower plane, the the forward bend. There's the centeredness. So maybe slightly the heels aren't quite slightly underneath that center point. So we might place some issues there, but let's take a look at the back brace line. Let's also do a little mini box around the head to see what happens. We'll put the top plane line to see if he gets there. We do see a little separation. We do see the shoulders tilting down in the weighting. So see the weighting is falling forward. Now, I'm not sure if that weighting is falling forward to keep the centeredness because the club is moving really low beneath that lower plane line. So a lot of rolling, a lot of tilting will get your whole body to fall forward. Now we fall forward and we can see we've reached that secondary plane line pretty well. The club is deep enough. It's met our center point. But you take a look at the new spine angle. There's definitely a dipping of the spine angle. However, along with the dip, we've seen that's a bad color. Let's do this in green. We see the shoulder tilt has leveled quite significantly with that increased dipping. Now, when you increase dipping, I mean, this is probably decent for, a short iron when you want to try and hit down. But he's got a mini driver here. So he's going to need to compensate somehow. So I would predict he's probably going to stand up at impact. And right there's a stand up. See that standing up motion to get back to his original posture here. And when you stand up, that means your hands need to activate to kind of throw down at the golf ball. We do a good job of turning, but I think as well that steepness. So let's back it up here. Go to the top of the swing. Watch that transition from here to here. See how that's instantly steep. A lot of this might be because of so much turn on the way back. So if you take a look at the left side of the screen, look how much turn we have here. Now, I did a video, I don't know how long ago, a couple of months ago, about the slinky and how you twist the slinky, and whenever you let go of the slinky, it doesn't uncoil from the bottom up like you would think. It uncoils from where the most pressure is. So if you have a lot of separation like he does, a lot of shoulder turn and minimal hip turn, he's got a lot of stored up pressure here. So when he releases it, as he sequences down to the golf ball, what's going to move first? It's not going to be the hips. It's going to be this area here that wants to release that tension. It's going to move faster initially. And when it moves faster initially, his upper body's out racing his sequencing, which will get him to be pretty steep. So we see from the top of the swing here, that motion there, it's steep specifically with a mini driver. It's hard to do that. So I would just, if this was me, I'd just say, hey, man, reduce some of that turn at the top. You don't need that much turn. Maybe work on your setup so it's a little bit more evenly distributed. And then when you take that club back, you might want to feel like you're moving less forward. But in order to do that, you have to cure that rolling and pulling the club back, because I think the club back, he's trying to stay balanced and he moves his head forward to counteract that. So that's my advice. Now, in terms of his question, what was his question here? Have advice for people like me who are relatively new to golf, but also pretty strong with a lot of speed. Speed it's a gift that some people have. I'm sure you can do some stuff to increase your speed, your ability to get fast, but you're either born with it or you're not. I mean, when we deal with so many children in our academies, and some kids are just fast. They just know how to make that club move and their body stay in balance. And some kids struggle. Now, obviously, as they grow, they get stronger. That fast kid might become weaker and vice versa. But you either have it by adulthood or you don't. And if you're gifted enough to be a strong guy with good wrists, good hand-eye coordination, or lady, there's not much more you can do to gain extra speed. Now, if you have above average speed, that's a trap that you can fall into too, because you can muscle the golf ball. And can you create consistency with muscling motions? It's hard. I used to muscle the ball a lot. I used to work out a lot, and I just got too robotic. So at some point, you've got to learn to taper back your speed to get consistency. So yeah, while you're learning the swing, go ahead, swing as hard as you can, but try and stay balanced. But then once you get a repetitive motion, back up and just learn how to hit the ball more solidly, because like we talked about yesterday's stream, clubhead speed is overrated. It's ball speed. Where do you hit that golf ball on the face that counts? Take that smash factor, increase that smash factor, reduce the clubhead speed. It's a win-win. You get more consistent distance. Remember, dispersion's not just left and right. It's short and long too. So you have to look at that dispersion chart as well when you go hit golf balls. So I hope that helps you, Cameron. Good job with the changes. Let's see who's next. And now yesterday we had some issues with my lines, and it looks like it's still the same issues. So forgive me with the line issues. Next we have Matthew. Let's see. Matthew gave me one video, so we'll make do with that. And if you do decide to send me a video, please make sure to try and send face on and down the line, which is right behind and like a face on view, because that makes a lot easier. Why isn't this loading? Uh-oh. Do I have to do it the old way? I hope it's not the case. All right. Import. Okay. It's one extra step. Let's just hope it was for this time. All right. Open. Why isn't it doing it? There we go. Okay. Technical difficulties at the Lion Golf Academy. Finally, I'm awake when you have one of these. Yeah. Sorry. Where are you from, KJ? Are you somewhere in Europe? Okay, let's see here. Next is Matthew. Matthew looks like he's from the UK. Let's play this while we go over his notes. And thank you. This is one video with two, so awesome. Down the line and face on. I've been playing since I was 15, played off of 4 or 5 until my early 30s, now 40, and crept up to 10 mostly because of my errant long game. Currently, bad shot is a snap hook or block, and swing path is usually 4 to 5 degrees in and out. Very flexible, but lacking strength and stability. I've been working on your feedback, and I found that trying to reduce how much my arms move across my chest in the backswing helps prevent them from getting so far behind me. Good. Which is something you highlighted. It feels impossible to get an impact position where my hands are connected to my shoulder tilt. So I wonder if you can help with that. I'm not quite sure what he means by that, but we'll take a look. It's very difficult to change my swing after so many years struggling with the same issues, but I think the way you break the swing down visually, geometrically helps give me a North Star to work towards. Okay. I appreciate you too. All right, let's take a look. Missouri just worked strange hours. Never been to Missouri. All right, let's take a look here. I do remember this gentleman's swing. He had a pretty severe inside-out motion. Yeah, look at this, still inside, which is fine for a driver, but you can have some pretty big misses too. A bowed left wrist, inside out. From this point, like if he wants to help himself out at this point, and anybody that looks like this at home watching, you've got to get that turn increased. Like you've got to get this way with the turn to bring the club head more over here to help you. The hands will go a little bit left while you turn, bring the club head that way, and that will really, I mean, you can really pound the golf ball, but you can see he gets more underneath it, hands get involved. There's still, look at the right side of the screen. So we still see from here to here, look at the hand action. With that type of strong position, here's pretty strong. There should be a lot more rotation out. That's tough to do. So let's take a look at his starting point, and let's take a look at what goes on. Now the camera does shift, so the lines won't make much of a difference here. I'm not sure what he means by it feels impossible to get impact where the hands are connected. Oh, I see what he's saying. Okay, to impact. So what he's saying is here, there's the shoulder tilt, there's the hands. So at impact, he's looking to try to get his hands to there. They do a pretty good job, though. Look, the tilt is increased, and there's a center of the tilt. Now, they're not going to get exactly their impact. What should happen is as the hands pass through, now you can see that's pretty decent because that shows that the hands have reached your center point and the club is still behind you. So you're not flipping at it. You're not getting your hands too involved. They do catch up right there. They go past the long point. So it's not too bad. In terms of your in to out, though, yeah, it's good right there. Yeah. Let's take a look one second. Let's see if I can capture it right there. All right, let's draw this and see if this switches. It switches a little bit. That's okay, though. Yeah, it switches a lot there. I don't know. I mean, it looks definitely like the setup. There might be some issues with the setup being too far forward for a driver. You know, there's the center of the heels back there. There's the center of the heels back there. You might want to try standing a little bit closer, a little bit taller, so you don't have to put so much pressure on your shoulder tilt turn relationship. At impact, you do a pretty good job, though. You still stay in that posture. The camera packs up, though. You do a pretty good job. I would say just try this out for me. Try and stand a little closer, a little bit taller. The ball position on the right side of the screen, let me double check that for you. Yeah, you might want to check because this video didn't capture it when you first started, but just double check this. You know, if that's where your hands are, you're still having this slight forward press. So move your whole body back. So let's back up your whole body so that golf ball goes right up through your center point. And then your hands will be here. So remember that club shaft wants to point up. So when you do sequence correctly, it'll still favor up. And that might help you with that last second, you know, thrown back around. You can still see hands right at the very end. Do a little bit of this. It's not too bad, though. So I'd say just stand a little closer, a little bit taller. Do it very small though. Don't all of a sudden go way too close and too tall. Do it like half an inch at a time, and then just monitor your face on this view over here, and just make sure your tilting matches your hands, matches your club shaft. Make things a little easier on everybody at home. Now, I would really recommend, if you are starting out, just make sure that I prefer to start people out in a pretty neutral setup. And one of the neutral setups for driver is connecting everything down. Go look at John Rahm. I know he's not somebody that you want to idolize in terms of swinging like him, but just look at that setup with the driver and you'll kind of see what I mean. Let's see. Maybe keeping his back to the ball a little bit longer in the downswing. Yeah, that's tough because you talked about here, like get his hips to go first, and then he seems like he does it pretty good. Now remember, there's that he's got a lot of turn. So if he's facing, look at that turn, right? That's a lot of turn. So to expect him to keep the back at that target while he sequences this way, it could do some damage. I mean, because he looks pretty Gumby-like, but there, I mean, yeah, you could possibly try to do that. But that's really hard to do with that amount of separation between these two lines. So I think before you change in-swing principles with somebody like this, you change the address and the starting position, and then look at the in-swing principle changes that go along with that. Good athletes, if you give them a better starting place, typically take care of things by themselves because you're giving the centeredness a new position. You're giving the ball position a new position that's working with your tilting, and people just kind of take up on that naturally. So before you try any in-swing principles, always look at your address to see how that affects it. I don't know where my submission's in the queue, but heads up, I submitted twice because I needed to crop the videos for you. Okay. Holsty, is that what you submitted it as? Because let me see if I got it here. And that was Matthew. So Matthew's done. Let me take a look real quick here, Holsty. Is it Matt Holst? I'm assuming Holsty. Yeah, I see yours. You're probably going to be up maybe Thursday if I can get through these pretty quickly. Bailey is next up, so let's do this. Let's try this way. All right, Bailey, I'm going to download your videos. There's one, and there's two. Let's see if we can just drag and drop it. Drag and drop. Is it working? Nope. Great. Yesterday was the lines. Today, oh, good, it worked there. All right. Okay, it looks like the same guy. All right, let me zoom in so we can see this a little bit closer. Then I'll go over his notes. Man, it looks a little dry out there. It's under Matt Holtz. Yep, I got it. Yep, got it. Oh, you're welcome. Bailey, I've been playing for 13 years, played high school and collegiate golf, was scratched for a long time, but could never get to an elite level. That's pretty elite to me. I feel as if my swing is very timing based because when I'm on, I play well, but when my timing is off, I can play pretty bad. I have a two-way miss when I'm playing bad, a hook and a block. I've always been told that early extension is the main reason for my swing issues, but no matter what I've tried, I can't get rid of it. I'm very lost on what to do to get better. Let's see this early extension. There's nothing wrong with early extension. Greg Norman had early extension. Jack Nicklaus had early extension. Okay, I definitely see. I see what he's talking about. Yeah, it's a very good swing. Yeah, low point stuck behind him here. So there's his low point stuck behind the golf ball. So he has to enact some tilting to push the hands out to make up for that. Okay, so I can see why this can be timing oriented with that low point. Left side, let's take a look here. Okay, it's like the same sort of thing. So see how from that first gentleman we had, see how the club's going in, to counteract that. As this club's going in, his head's moving across. So we see that balance issue again. Now we're getting close to the golf ball, which essentially has made our body shift closer, which now all of a sudden, even if it's 2 or 3 inches, we don't have enough room as when we did when we started. So now we probably have to just learn to get our lower body out the way and then kind of stand up as well to get everything out of the way. So the hands, look, our hands, close to hands and arms get to the body. They do have a little bit extra room to work with, and then it goes to release. So yeah, this is a swing that's relied upon itself. I mean, there's very little you can do to this unless you change multiple things at the same time, and it's going to be very frustrating to work with. I think it's a phenomenal swing, and clearly it was pretty good to get down to a scratch. I would say, if you want to try and work on a couple of things, that's tough though, because this is like such an ingrained motion. It's going to take forever to change this. That's why I'm really hesitant to give advice to really good players that kind of have like the homemade looking swing, because it could just send them on a path of just such frustration. Hoping to make the show as well. Submitted via form. Great stuff. You got it, Michael. Yeah, if you submitted it like yesterday, just expect it's going to be Thursday, because I'm still getting through some of these from July. It's been that long. I would say this one's tough, Bailey. Hopefully you understand why you're doing a lot of these things. If this was me and you and we're working on a long-term goal, I mean, I would have had this conversation with you if you were my student. I'd say, look, there's very little you can do right now. You can just hit a bunch of balls so you get your timing corrected. If you wanted to change stuff, there's quite a lot of little things that we have to change that's based around your setup and your initial part of the takeaway. Because your initial part of the takeaway, you shift your balance towards your toes. And now you have to work around that balance shift. And you've learned to stand up, get out the way, and just extra tilt it to get the hands out in front of that low point and release it. So in order to stop that impact, that shaft humping, the early extension, whatever they call it now, is you have to look at that first part of your takeaway. You have to be a little bit more connected, maybe set up so you can be more connected, get your turn and tilt relationship established. You do lose some shoulder tilt, which is why you've learned to pull the club back, because if you keep that tilt turn relationship, you'll get to the top effectively based on your setup. But everything's just kind of, one thing has created another, and you've gotten away with it to be a scratch handicap. In order to do that, you need severe talent. So along with that, the unfortunate part is that anytime you try to change from a severely talented scratch player with, quote unquote, we're going to call this kind of a homemade move, man, it's going to take twice as long to unlearn stuff. I'd just say, look, man, just set up a little bit differently. You watch your low point, try not to move as much. Even if you can cut that loss, let's say you move 2 inches, let's move it 1 inch. Even if you cut things in half, it'll make your body feel so much more freer, and then you can get that low point control. So bottom line, look at the right side of the screen. Low point, I mean here, you can see your low point is way behind that golf ball. So there's nothing you can do other than what you do is increase the tilt to push your hands out in front. And there's that huge tilt, which pushes your hands out in front to make sure that now has kind of given you a fake low point of being out to here by increasing that tilt so much. I mean, that's your impact tilt. That's a lot of tilt for impact. But look at that connection on the way through. So clearly, you're a great player. I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but I don't want to send you down a path where you can't. Are you on here, really? Oh, perfect. You're on here. Everything I've tried to work on never works. What can I do setup-wise? I'll give you some pointers here. I'd say he needs to get stronger legs, start working out, maybe from experience. He has a lot of great ground feel with the release. Looks similar to me. Yeah, there's a lot of good players that, just find a way to get it done. I would say setup, you want to look at these, and it's running into this issue again. So if I get these lines, great. If not, great. Let's take a look. So we're going to draw where your setup is as far down as I can. So this setup looks okay. I would say the front setup, we can see the amount of tilting that you have established, which puts your hands out in here. Now, this is maybe because you've learned to increase your tilt. You need to feel like you tilted out here. But if you take a look at that forward press in relation to that tilt, you can see this angle here is pretty severe. And at some point, you're going to have to make up for it. Most amateurs make up for it by shifting their center points in between those two to get way ahead of the golf ball. And then they usually throw as well, which leads to the chicken wings. So you're shifting your ball position further back by leaning that way in your golf swing. So you can see how forward presses can set you up for disaster. Another one is what you do is you increase the tilt which then pushes your arms and hands more out in front of you, which can carry that forward press over effectively. So you'd have to look at, if you wanted to change your setup, you'd have to look at bringing this angle here a little bit tighter, so you don't require so much tilt and at impact. And one of those ways is just maybe level these out slightly, get your hands to connect to that, and you want that shaft lean to be just a little out in front. So already you've taken this angle and you've reduced it by more than a half, and that will definitely help you out. Might not look like much, it probably feel very awkward. And then your first part of your takeaway on your backswing on the left side, I would be looking at saying, okay, how can I keep my tilt-turn relationship together? Because at this point, you can already see the left shoulder is coming up, which will bring your hands above that plane. And you've learned to keep your club below this plane to compensate that. But by doing that, your weight's falling forward. So you can see everything just kind of helps each other out. So hopefully that helps. All right, let's see who is next. See ya. What's that? See ya, wouldn't want to be ya. Okay, it makes a lot of sense. I started working. Oh, there you go. You got to don't skip leg day. I've skipped leg day for like 45 years. So take it from me. All right, Billy. Let's see who's next. We have Gerard. Gerard. All right. Okay, we got a bunch to choose from. Let's see. Give me a little preview. No preview. So we're just going to randomly choose these two. Let's see. What is this? Oh, maximum file. I don't know if I can do this one. These have all exceeded the maximum file upload. Did we get one? We got one. So the other two, Gerard, unfortunately, we've exceeded the maximum upload for your upload. So in other words, that file was too big, so it just spat it back out. So hopefully this will be good enough to see what's going on. And let's just hit play and go over his notes. Oh, it's in French. That's going to be an issue. Let me do this. Let's do a quick little Google Translate. Translate this to English. All right. We got a translator going here. So there might be some lost things in this translation, so we're going to keep that in mind. Thank you for losing a little time watching my swing. I've only taken a few lessons, but read many books. Too many, no doubt. My swing is still erratic. When I was a 15 handicap, my pro told me 25 years ago that my mental image of golf is wrong. At 75 years old today, I haven't made any progress. Anyway, I really enjoy your analysis in the golf world. It's even worse in France, but I'm still passionate about this game and regularly watch the Bobby Jones videos filmed by Warner in 1933. Just brilliant. I was a television editor-in-chief for 20 years, amazed by the technical quality of Jones' nets. Yes, if you guys haven't watched that, it's actually really impressive. Well said enough. Friendly regards, Gerard. I hope I'm saying that right. Gerard. All right, so there's no real notes about his swing. We're just going to take a look at this cause and effect from face on. Sorry we didn't get the down the line. Looks like a nice golf course. Okay, a lot of upper body motion. And we see we stall out, and there's, you know who's coming to dinner. All right, so this all basically will also stem down to ball position. So assuming we can make lines on here. There, look at this one. We made some lines. All right, so there's the ball position. You can see where it's favoring right of center. So he's got that center point already ahead of the golf ball. So through trial and error, we've probably learned to move our center point over to the right side. So it's there, it's good there. And then basically we started to overdo that motion. And now all of a sudden we've got a spine angle that's pretty far out. So if you were to sequence correctly and, you know, turn and tilt correctly, you'd bottom out all the way back over here. So we've got some issues. So now we have to figure out, okay, how do we not hit the ground back there? We probably have to get our upper body to move back over to make sure we don't hit the ground. And by doing that, we're so busy moving back over that we don't sequence correctly, maybe because we haven't loaded correctly. And if you don't sequence correctly, now it becomes hands and arms, and then we strike the golf ball. So the golf ball is still returning back to the center point, but it's done pretty ineffectively. So it's just a lot of upper body this way. Now it's 75. I'm not sure. He didn't mention anything about his body's abilities. I would imagine he looks pretty athletic, for 75. I would just work with this gentleman on some rotation drills, some maybe core balance drills, some simple drills of leg balance. So if you guys need some simple drills, I think I did a video, I don't know when it was, but maybe a couple months ago. It's giving you like 5 drills to work on at home for your balance. And one of them is really, really easy. You stand up, you put your hands out, and then you lift one leg, knee to the chest if you can, and just stay balanced and see how long you stay balanced. And then flip the legs, do the next one, stay along. You want to stay on it for like 10 seconds is your goal. And once you get there, okay, level 2. So do the same thing, pull your leg all the way up, and then go close your eyes. As soon as you close your eyes, man, you're going to lose balance right away. But it will teach you how to engage your core. It'll teach you how to listen to where your balance point is moving, and do that for both legs. If you do that every night and just before you go to bed, you trust me, it's going to make the world of difference on how to sequence and how to get your core involved. So I would definitely look at that with this gentleman. And then we start looking at, weight distribution. How do we get that weight to distribute back right to left correctly without getting the whole upper body, moving on its own? Even if you sway, it's okay. I don't care if you sway. Obviously swaying, you're going to bring in timing. But if that helps this gentleman enjoy the game more, get the ball up in the air more, hit some better shots every now and then, that's number one goal for me, is to at least give him some ray of hope to see some correct motions with his body and utilize the body correctly. So Gerard, hope that makes some sense to you. Maybe you'll be listening under my French translation video. But if you want to resend down the line, because those files you sent originally were too big, go ahead and resend it. And then also just let me know what you want me to help you on in terms of ball flight. Are you, do you top the ball? Do you hit it heavy? That type of stuff I also need help with. So appreciate it. Bloody Soup joined in. Bloody Soup 74. I need to get on here. Love it. Yes, please do. The link will be down below in the description after this goes live. But then just go on any new video. You'll see the job form link. Face on down the line will work wonders. All right, Gerard. Next, we have Jared. So we have, oh no, sorry, I skipped one. Next, we have Greg. Gerard, then Greg. Download and download. All right, let's see if we can pick those up. There's 1 and there's 2. All right, drag them all the way over. Let's try that again. Drag them all the way over. Computers are so frustrating. This thing was working perfectly. Here we go. All right, there's 1. Double layout. 2. Let's zoom in. And again, looks like a cold, blistery day. Before I read his notes, let's take a guess where he's from. Only somebody in England would dress like that. That's all I'm going to say. I'm saying England. Let's take a look if he says anything. Hi, Tony. Played since I left university. I think English people say uni, right? So I'm taking that for the win. And Greg, if you're not from England, just say you're from England. Make me feel better. 20 years ago, I've had a few lessons, but I don't feel any of them have fundamentally changed what I do. The pro normally just says I should be off a lower handicap than I am, which is real helpful. And I'm assuming he's saying that sarcastically. In my mind, the effect is my arms collapsing when a ball is there. But maybe the ball isn't the real cause of these swings. I was really focusing on avoiding. Oh, let me play this. Focusing on avoiding the arm movements. But they will still show up. And basically, I can draw it if I really focus on going out to the right more, but that tends to be accompanied by an even more early extension. Forgive me, because I've included the practice swing, which are within full intent, but each of these as well just show the difference. All right, yeah, that's fine. Practice swing, and then the real swing. All right, let's focus. Let's look at that practice swing one more time. Yeah, you can still see it. Okay, so let's go to the real swing. Okay, a lot of forward press and a lot of collapsing at the top of the arms. Yeah, that's going to be a lot to make up. So let's just rebuild this position here just to show you. So if this was where his arm would be, his club would probably be there. So there's the little club head. Forgive my horrible drawing, but look how much he has to get that club head now to work back around. Obviously, it's not to scale, right? But look how much he has to get that club head back around to impact in, a half of the time, a third of the time. That's a lot. So body-wise, it looks pretty good. We see some turn. We see a lot of turn. We see the tilt-turn relationships doing pretty good job here. Let's see if he does lose his posture because his arms have to get involved. So here comes the arms. The arms have to say, let me help you out. Let me just reconnect somehow. He gets down to impact pretty good, all things considered. And we see that tilting has increased, which will get your long point of the circle out to that point. Now it's going to tilt more as we move through, but you can see everything's met up. That's pretty good there. So club face, hands have met up together. All in all, I think this is a really good, talented player that's just suffering from some issues down at the impact. I don't see much loss of posture what he feels. I mean, look at that. He's still well within his posture. I've seen a lot worse. Let me put it that way. You can see the back brace line. He's still on there. He's not doing that much collapsing. I would have expected a lot more collapsing just by the way the arms collapse at the top. I think this is let me check one more thing before we go into this. Yeah, that forward press, that's tough. We're looking at here. We're looking at the hands running pretty good, but then look at the amount. Obviously, there would be his club shaft. So that's a lot of forward press. At some point, you got to close that down. So if you carry this angle, let's say you sequence correctly, you can move the upper body with that lower body to make sure you get the low point ahead. But even a slight increase of tilt changes that angle completely. Now you've added more angle. And at that point, you don't have the wrist strength to hold it like the tour guys and girls do. And they increase tilting and get their low point ahead and turn a lot like the John Rahms of the world. So I would just encourage most amateurs that, have a job for a living, that have a family, that have, stuff to do, that don't have the time to spend hours and hours on range, to level the shoulder tilt out. Just make it natural. So when you have your hands together, if I lower my right hand to grip the club, that's basically all the tilt that you would need. You don't need to add any more tilt. Just let that grip change the tilt correctly for you. So then you'd bring the hands back a little bit, and that the golf shaft would be here. So the golf ball would be maybe in front of that. You can play with this, and see if that works, but just level things out slightly. And then from that point, you can sequence correctly and get the upper body to sequence as well. But that's the starting point. Let's look at that top of the swing. I mean, if this was me and my student, we'd be just doing stop drills. So in other words, from this position, we can see that right arm pulling in, which is okay. But then it should just stop right about here. Right there is where I feel like things are adequate enough. You've got adequate turn. You don't need more turn than that. You've got adequate turn here. So you've got some good rotation. You got some good storage of power. You can see the whole left side of your vest is getting those lines, which means there's some tension there. And from here, it's a lot easier, a lot shorter. Look how less your hands have to go down to here versus here. I mean, you've increased the motion of the hands here. You've probably disconnected them. And then also that club head's moved a lot back. So it's no wonder you have to throw to get things out in front like you do very well. But that's an incredibly timing-oriented motion. It's just a lot of many golf balls. You'd have to hit probably 200 balls a day to maintain that swing. And I don't think anybody that has a life outside of golf can hit 200 balls a day. Let's see here. Definitely UK. Well, we'll see. Or Australia. Been cold over here. Yes. Yeah, I've never been to Australia. That does look like some Aussie outback trees, though. It could be. Hey, brother, love the contest. You got it, Daisy. No problem. Are there any pros at forward? Yeah, there's a lot of pros at forward press. And pros are like the best compensators in the world. They do things so perfectly for them. And that's why I try to cover many golf pros on my channel to explain like how their setup affects their swing and how they can get away with it because of their body mechanics. And no two golf swings are alike, including the golf pros. They don't grip it the same. They don't have the same tilting. They don't have the same setup. They don't have the grip pressure. Nothing's the same about them, but they all win. They all find a way to shoot 63s because they're so uniquely talented. So the problem with choosing tour players is you can make any swing theory work. Say, hey, look, Jim Furyk makes it work. Let's make a method out of Jim Furyk because of his loopy motion. You can say Steve Stricker works because of his motion. Let's make a method out of him. But it doesn't work for 99.9% of us out there. So I'm always in favor of getting people away from that forward press because it makes things line up easier for everyday golfers. I'm not saying it's the be-all, end-all. I've seen everyday golfers make that forward press work. It's just a matter of what does your forward press now cause in your current in-swing principles, and can you get away with it, and can they compensate each other correctly? That's the thing. I'm not out here to change anybody's setup unless I see some issues that you have to do in your full swing. All right, Greg, hope that helps. Say you're from England, make me feel better. All right, Greg is out the way. So we had Gerard, Greg, now we have Jared. All right, Jared. Let's get Greg out of here. That sounds kind of mean when I say that. Let's depart from Greg. All right. I wonder if this is... Okay, no. All right. Let's pull up these two. 1 and 2. All right, we got them. Right here. 1 and 2. All right, this doesn't look like England. This looks like somewhere up in Northern California, if I'm going to guess that. Camarillo and up. Oxnard and up. Or it could be, nah, it can't be. All right, let's take a look at his notes. All right, Jared, if you're on, that's perfect. Andrew. So if you go to any one of my videos, regular videos, at the bottom, you're going to see a link, a jot form link. You click on it. It takes you to the submission page. You just type in your name, contact info, all that stuff, and then upload a face-on and down the line view. Put your notes that you want me to address. Hit submit. It goes in the queue. There's been about 2 months. The past 2 months, I've been extremely busy at the academy, so I wasn't able to do these. We usually do these once a week and get 6 or 7 submissions. It was backlogged so much, we had 35 waiting. So I'm not doing videos this week. We're doing live streams every day until we get caught up. Right now, we're projected to be caught up by Thursday, which is quicker than what I thought we'd do. So that's the goal. So submit it. You'll be on this week sometime. Join us tomorrow again, Thursday, maybe Friday. Around that. Hi, Tony. I just submitted the swing submission, but I wasn't able to upload 4 videos, so I'm attaching the other 2. All right, let's see this one. Okay, thanks for doing this. I'm 45. Started this game 3 years ago and hooked. Currently a 9.5. That's pretty good. 3 years to a 9.5. Short game and putting is my strength. That probably explains it. I have a few lessons, but I didn't feel like the positioning-based instruction was for me. That's right. My swing is basically my own from all YouTube video tips I've tried, trial and error, just trying to see things, just trying to see what works for me. Definitely could be in better shape and working my way towards that. All right, more power to you. Lower back has always been giving me some pain prior to golf, but I can manage. Overall flexibility is poor. Ball flights with wedges are usually a fade, though some days it'll be a draw. Ball flight with the driver is always high, weak, fade, or slice. Worst club in the bag is a driver. Carry my 7-wood, 190 yards, and then hit the driver from 190 to 210. So basically, I have 2 7-woods. All right, let's take a look. Anything else here? Never feel like I get to my lead side early enough, and my lower body feels like it's giving a lot of effort. All right. Don't have face on though. Just send it down the line. It's okay. I can make it work. Now keep in mind though, if you just send 1, I can only give you like X amount of help because ball position really plays a part, and you can only see ball position for face on. Just keep that in mind. But go ahead, send it. It's no problem. Next one, KJ Clump, how many lessons would a reasonable amount to get a slice under control or at least playable? Um, there's no right answer. It really comes down to what the problem is. It comes down to how ingrained that problem is with the students. If you are brand new students, you can probably get it done fairly quick. If you are a seasoned player, if you're 70 years old and you can only make a steep outside in path and we can't change your setup, you might never get it fixed. So it's such a hard question to answer. I would just say I've had people cure it in one lesson, and I say I've had people that have never cured it. We're just focusing on reducing the slice so it's playable. Obviously, it'll vary. Okay. But at what points are you putting the kids in college? But at what point are you putting the kids, the college? What point are you putting the guys in college? I'm not sure. Can you help me with that one? All right, let's take a look here. Let's look at this quick setup here. Okay, club goes back, but he does a pretty good job of keeping that weighting. It's close. Yeah, all the things are there. Yeah, it's close. All right, I think this is one where you have to make sure we're set up correctly. So if you see that ball position, again, setup will create so many things. So ball position is way out in front. Now, I don't know if this camera angle is shifted, but I'm assuming it's a dead straight on camera angle. And when you have a ball position that far out, unless you're able to tilt extreme to keep that club face from moving left past impact, your path is always going to be moving left as you strike it. And that's going to be an issue because if the club face is square to the target, but it's right of path, you're still going to banana ball it. So you can now all of a sudden you got some issues by trying to close the club face at some point, and then you get handsy and you're trying to throw that club face closed, and that's where all your power is lost because you release your conservation of momentum too soon, and now you're like slapping everything, and you might pull one. But most of these are going to be these balloon slices. So we can kind of see where this is stemming from. And because that ball position is so far out in front, he is getting there by getting that right shoulder to be open to the target. So now we probably have a path issue set up as well. So now we've got a path that's going to be, if he just takes a club straight through, it's going to be more out to in, a little bit more steeper. Plus, the ball position is going to favor an even more left path. So now you got a huge slice every now and then. So you'd probably just have to pull this golf ball back, back to here where it wants to be. And we take a look at the tilting. You can see the tilting is out in front. So the hands are doing good. Just the upper body it's very stacky tilty. It looks like a lot of the weight is on the left side. So you would like, if you can imagine, let's see if I can redo this so it doesn't look so ridiculous. So let's say the ball's here. Let's draw a little ball. Hello, ball, right there. And now we're going to draw the club shaft right there. Now you have to find a way to build your body around that. So the hands will be about here, and the shoulders would be back here, and the head would be right there. Okay, so now we've got what looks like a golfer that is set up with more weight favoring this right side. Because remember, we're trying to launch this golf ball up. It's on a tee. Take advantage of the tee. So the way the golf ball is, he's moving his weight over to get to that golf ball, but he's also opening his shoulders. And now he's going to be stuck left side. And any sort of weight transfer, it's not going to be in sync with that golf ball. So you want to set up so everything's back. And then from here, when you take that club back, just focus on the hip turning away from the target. And then when you get to the top of the swing, we can see here, his top of the swing, his upper body is almost falling back. So now his tilt is facing, downward. So now we've got another issue. So there comes a little steepness, and he's fought this off by pulling the club back inside to fight that. So you can see the compensations are at play already, even at, 3 years ago. So he's definitely hitting enough golf balls to develop compensations around this. You would like it to be matching that. So we're going to draw his potential new spine at the top of his swing to be here. So all we're doing is setting up and then just turning. And we know we're going to get weight transfer because this is tipping this way. So if you turn around this axis, weight will move here. Plus you started with it more. So now you have more weight on the right side. Then you can sequence your hips and your upper body will stay back here. So then you increase your tilting, which gets your hands out in front, and you strike the golf ball with a slight forward press is okay. But at that point, your hands will already start to release it and match up past the impact. So I hope all these lines make sense. It looks a little ridiculous, but try that at home, Jared, and let me know if that helps you. Through. So let's see. Putting the guys, kids, the college through. Are we? I still you gotta help me out. Are you trying to put college kids through college through golf? I hope. Do you have one or two go-to drills that no matter your swing, grip, body style will benefit every golfer? Man, honestly, no. There was a time, maybe 15 years ago, where I was working on my own swing and I had a drill that I would use. And I would use it occasionally with some other people that could display issues that I had at that time. And it worked great for them. I never have a drill that I use for everybody. I just don't think they exist because we're all so independent. We're all so different. We're also built different. We have different rotations, different tilt. Our body make us built differently. So I just don't believe that there's one universal tip that works for everybody. There may be one universal understanding, but understanding and applying is two completely different things. So no, I don't. Would you say stack and tilt is good for irons but not for driver? I would say stack and tilt. If you want to choose stack and tilt, it's definitely going to help the short irons right away. You'll probably notice a pretty good contact with shorter irons because they're designed to be steeper anyway. And that's what tilting does, is it gets you a little bit steeper. Once you get into the longer irons, it might become an issue. And I do know some players that as they get to the longer irons, they segue into more of a hybrid stack and tilt, more rotational. And then once they get the driver, I don't even think there's a true stack and tilt driver on tour. The last statistics I saw, I think less than 1% of tour players use stack and tilt. That just shows you how it's pretty ineffective when it gets that best in the world. 40 to 45% of them are still rotational, and the rest are more like a hybrid of their own thing. So stack and tilt, hey man, if it works for you, great. I've tried it. I loved it with my short irons. It gave me back issues with my long irons. I blocked everything with my long irons, and then I just went away from it. So hopefully that helps you. Due to right hand lower, and that causes natural. Yes, you got it. Would you say positioning ball slightly forward off of center is always best? I would say yes for the driver, no for the irons. Irons, you still want a slight natural forward press at setup. So you are looking for that shaft to be leaning a little bit, but it has to be relative to your center points. If that forward press is out here and your center point's back of the golf ball, you've got to get that center point back there somehow, and that's going to carry that forward press too far, and now you got some issues. So yes, I would say a little bit of both. You got it, Joey. I did stack and tilt, but it felt like I had an artificial shaft lean. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, you're already, you're leaning left, so your hands are out in front. You probably took some pretty severe divots when you did it correctly, but they're relying on a lot of this at impact, so you don't go straight down into the ground. When you don't see a lot of stack and tilters carrying the angle this way, they're already here as they strike it to push their hands out in front to avoid digging the dirt. So, I mean, I know plenty of good guys that play stack and tilt, but I think it can get you to a certain limit. And you just look at the best in the world on the PGA Tour. Less than 1% have stack and tilt. So that just shows you. What time is it? All right. We're going to cut it off there. So how many did we get down today? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. We got 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right. It's better than 34. So we got 18. So even if we do 6 a day, that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Perfect. We'll be all set. But I hope that helps you. You're welcome, Bloody Soup. Always a pleasure to have you guys on. But thanks for the support of the chat. Oh, and don't forget, I got a video coming out. we just got sent 10 of these rangefinders. I'm going to give them away to you guys. So I'm going to put a video together next week. Free rangefinders. I'll give you my honest opinion on what they are, if they're garbage or if they're good. But that video will drop next week. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Maybe hit that notification bell just so you don't miss that video, so you can get some free stuff. Other than that, I'll see you next time, tomorrow, same time, same bat channel, Fairways and Greens.